What is more important to you than life? Now, for many people, nothing is. There are many people out there who will lie and cheat and steal and kill even, who are willing to do anything possible if they believe that in doing so it could save their life. Their life to them is of the utmost value. But even more than that, they also fear death. They fear the end of that life. Now, in the story of Beowulf, as you near the conclusion of that story, I had an interesting thought. You see, King Hrothgar informs Beowulf that eventually he is going to come upon a foe that he could not defeat, and that he would come to an inevitable end. Now, the dragon at the end of that story represents death. That inevitable end. Beowulf, rather than fearing that end, rather than cowering before it, that rather than trying to deceive or to cheat his way out of it, instead puts on his chainmail and his helmet. And he goes out shouting to the dragon to show yourself. The story is trying to convey a powerful message, asking the question of how a hero will meet that inevitable end. And when faced with the prospect of death, that hero looked past death itself towards what was more important to him, towards bravery and honor and courage. These things were greater than death. And these things allowed him to live on in myths and legends of those who would come after him. Now the Christian must look at death in a similar light. The Christian has looked at both life and death, and in them he sees Christ. In Philippians 1 and verse 21, Paul would write, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Now, Jim Elliot was a missionary who died on his trip to Ecuador, and he said, "He is no fool who gives what he cannot keep to gain what he cannot lose." Matthew 16, beginning in verse 24, says, "Then said Jesus unto his disciples, If any man would come after me, let him deny himself, and take up his cross, and follow me. For whosoever would save his life shall lose it, and whosoever shall lose his life for my sake shall find it. For what shall a man be profited if he shall gain the whole world and forfeit his life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life?" Now, this time, this memorial, is also a time that we set our priorities straight. Paul would also write in 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 28, "But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup." So this is a time when we look at ourselves, we examine ourselves and see what is most important. What is more important than life to us? We have a hope of something beyond death because of the sacrifice that Christ made for us. And because he was the hero who looked in the face of death and met it head on, and in doing so, conquered death. Because the love of God and the grace of Jesus has given us a hope of salvation. Christ saved every one of us facing death in the process. We were worth dying for to Christ. So now what to us is more important than life? Now is the time that we remember that sacrifice in the manner in which he set before us. In 1 Corinthians 11 again, but this time jumping back up a little bit. And when he had given, for I received, verse 23, "For I received of the Lord that which also I delivered unto you, that the Lord Jesus, in the night in which he was betrayed, took bread. And when he had given thanks, he brake it, and said, This is my body, which is for you. This do in remembrance of me. In like manner also the cup after supper, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood. This do as often as ye drink it in remembrance of me. For as often as ye eat this bread and drink this cup, ye proclaim the Lord's death till he come." Christ was willing to die for us. So let us remember that sacrifice with a heart that is worthy of it.